Hi guys, good evening and welcome to Oliveboard. I hope all of you are well. A very good evening and welcome to the class. Quickly share this session in your Telegram groups and in your WhatsApp groups. Guys, I want all of you to share this session as much as possible. Quickly share this session in your Telegram groups, in your WhatsApp groups so that your friends can also join the class. So in today's class, we are going to start a new topic, and that topic is subject-verb agreement. We are going to begin a new topic in today's class. A very good evening and welcome to people who have joined in right now. Let's quickly start this class without wasting any time. So before starting, I would like to introduce a few courses at Oliveboard. We have launched a few new courses and these are ongoing courses, so you can check out their details on the website. The details are available on the website. First up is the SBI PO 2021 selection batch 4. So if you are targeting the SBI PO exam, do enroll in this course. Now, this course is a bilingual course, that is, classes will be available in both English as well as in Hindi. And these are the features of the course. So you can go through the features and you can refer to the features on the website as well. So detailed features of the course are available on the website. Do visit the website. Next up, we have the IBPS RRB PO Clerk Mains 2021 exam. So this is an intensive crash course. These are the features of the course, and this course is also available in both English and Hindi medium. This course is also available in English and Hindi medium. So do enroll in the course if you are targeting the IBPS RRB PO Mains exam or the Clerk Mains exam, right? Now let's start this session, Basics of English Grammar. This is the name of the series. We take up topics from English grammar, discuss rules associated with with these topics that we take up every day. Then we discuss practice questions as they might be asked in your exams. And we also look at some miscellaneous questions associated with this or with these topics. Today we are starting subject verb agreement. Today the topic that we are starting is subject verb agreement, a very important topic. Today is day 1 of subject verb agreement. A very good evening and welcome to the class, guys. I want all of you to share this session. Quickly share this session, guys. Share this session in your Telegram groups, in your WhatsApp groups. Hit the like button if you haven't liked the session already. Right. So this topic, that is subject verb agreement, it can be asked in numerous forms in your examinations. The exams that you appear for example, your banking exams, your SSC exams, or your other government exams. Your other government exams, whatever exam that you might be appearing for, this topic, that is subject verb agreement, is very important. And it can be asked in the form of questions like error spotting. It can be asked in the form of phrase replacement. And it can be asked in the form of fill in the blanks as well. So these are the three major question types using which this topic can be asked. So let's begin the class. Let's look at the introduction. First, let us try and understand what the topic is all about. Guys, I want you to share this session as much as possible. Quickly share this session. Share the session as much as possible, guys. So let's start the class. Let's first try and understand the topic. Now, the name of the topic is subject verb agreement. So as the name suggests, the subject and the verb of the sentence must agree with each other in terms of order or number. In terms of order or number. So if your subject is singular, your verb must also be singular. Similarly, if your subject is plural, your verb must also be plural. So this is what the introduction says. This is what the introduction also tells you, that the subject must agree with the verb in number and vice versa is also true. That is, the verb must also agree with the subject. The subject must agree with the verb and the verb must agree with the subject. Both the ways it is true. So if your subject is singular, your verb must also be singular. And if your subject is plural, then your verb must also be plural. So this is the basic understanding of this topic, that is subject verb agreement. Now for an example, try to attempt this question. Try to attempt this question that is given to you guys. I want all of you to attempt the question that is given to you. She dash every day. Speak, write, paints or draw. Notice she here is a singular subject. The subject of the sentence is singular. The subject of the sentence is singular. It is talking about one single person. So the verb must also be singular. Because the subject is singular, the verb must also be singular. Both the subject and the verb must agree with each other. They must be of the same order. And a very important trick, or a trick that you can use to identify the subject in the sentence, is subject is someone or something who is doing the action or performing the activity in the sentence. Subject of the sentence. So what is the subject of the sentence? Someone or something. Someone or something who is doing the activity or action that is being talked about in the sentence. So here the subject is she, which is a singular subject. So your verb will also be singular, which indicates option C is the correct answer here. She paints every day. Notice the other verbs that are given to you. Speak, write and draw. These are plural verbs. These are plural verbs. So options A, B and D will be eliminated. If you have any doubts in the introduction, you can ask your doubts, guys. If you have any doubts in the introduction, you can ask your doubts. So option C here was the correct answer. I have given you a trick to identify the subject of the sentence also, someone or something who is doing the action or performing the activity in the sentence. In this given sentence, she was the subject, which was a singular subject, so your verb will also be singular. Now moving ahead, here the rule suggests that if your subject is singular, the verb must be singular, and if your subject is plural, the verb must be plural. So just a rephrasing of what we have already studied. The first rule is just a rephrasing of what we have already studied, that the subject and the verb must agree with each other. When we say that the subject and the verb must agree with each other, this is what we mean. This is what we mean. So she dashed the plants since last week. Try to attempt this question. For an example, try to attempt the question that is given to you. She dashed the plants since last week. In case of this sentence also, she is the subject. The subject of the sentence is she, which is a singular subject. talking about one single person. So if you were to go through all the options, if you notice option A says have and option C says were. So A and C give you verbs that are plural, but your subject is singular. So options A and C will be eliminated. Now, if you go through option B, she has not watered the plants since last week. This option is correct because has is a singular verb. Has is a singular verb. So option B here is the correct answer. Correct answers by Rahi and Snehashish. Correct answers. So try to understand this rule very carefully. This is the basic of subject verb agreement. This is the basic rule of subject verb agreement. I have tried to explain it to you in two different ways. If you have any doubts so far, you can ask your doubts. If not, we will move ahead and we'll look at the next rule. If you have any doubts, you can ask your doubts, guys. If not, just write clear in the chat box. So moving on. Now the next rule says when the subject is composed of two nouns or pronouns connected by the connector and. If you wish to ask any doubt about the subject, that is English, how will you discuss it with me? There is a Telegram group that you can ask me on, or you can text me on Telegram, or whatever doubt that you might have, you can bring it to the classes as well. You can bring your doubts to the classes as well. So when the subject is composed of two nouns or pronouns, when the subject is composed of two nouns or pronouns and that subject or those subjects are connected using the connector and, that is the conjunction and, we use a plural verb. So when we are connecting two subjects using this connector and, this will make the subject plural. This will make the subject plural. So notice this sentence. Notice this sentence and try to attempt this sentence. Go through this sentence carefully and try to attempt the question that is given to you. Try to attempt the question that is given to you, guys. So let's discuss this question. Two of you are correct, Rahi and Snehashish. Correct answers. Option A here is absolutely correct. Option A is the correct answer. The chairperson and the doctoral candidate. The chairperson and the doctoral candidate dash a part of the deciding committee. Here we are talking about two different people. Here we are talking about two different people. So you can say the chairman is person A and the doctoral candidate is person B. So you can say Rahul and Ram dash a part of the deciding committee. Here the chairperson is Rahul and the doctoral candidate is Ram. So here we are talking about two people. Because we are talking about two people, our subject becomes plural. Because we are talking about two people, our subject becomes plural. Had we been talking about one person, our subject would have been singular. But here we are introducing two people. We are talking about two people. So that is why our subject is plural, which means our verb must also be plural. So what is the first rule that we have studied? If our subject is plural, our verb will also be plural. Here the subject that is given to us, is plural. That is why option A is the correct answer. Correct answers by most of you. Nirmal, yes, absolutely correct. Option A is the correct answer. So guys, there was an importance of this definite article the. In the sentence, there was an importance of the definite article the. We will notice this importance in the next sentence. I want you to attempt this question that is given to you. Try to attempt this question. And as you attempt this question, I will explain you the importance of the definite article the that was given in the sentence. I want all of you to attempt the question, guys. Even if you're not sure about your answer, do try and attempt the question. Even if you're not sure about the answer, what could be the correct answer, at least try and attempt the question. Your attempt matters more than your answer being correct or incorrect here. Right, so most of you are giving the correct answer, that is option A. That is option A. So notice here the judge and chairperson. Notice the definite article the is missing here. The definite article the is missing before chairperson. Because definite article the is not given in the sentence, the judge and chairperson is referring to one single person. The judge and chairperson is referring to one single person. So this person A holds two offices or performs two roles, that of the judge and chairperson. We are essentially talking about one person here. But when we say the judge and the chairperson, then we are talking about two different people. So you have to understand this difference between the subject. You have to try and understand the difference between the subject of the sentence. Here the subject of the sentence is singular. So the verb that you are going to use will also be singular. Now try to attempt the question. If any of you has not attempted the question yet, I want you to attempt the question. On the other hand, in the second case, we are talking about two different people. So here the subject is plural. So option A is the correct answer. Notice the other options B, C and D. These three options give you plural verbs. Hence they are eliminated. If you have any doubts in this question, if you have any doubts in this concept, you can ask your doubts, guys. Mostly error spotting question will be asked from this concept. Generally, error spotting question is asked from this concept. If you have any doubts, you can ask your doubts. If not, we will move on to the next part. We will move on to the next rule. So moving on, when the sentence has a single subject and multiple verbs, all the verbs must agree with the subject. So if there is one subject in the sentence, and there are multiple verbs in that sentence, all referring to the same subject, then all these verbs will agree with the subject. So notice this sentence: she plays in the park and studies at school. So notice here, plays and studies. These are two verbs. The subject that is used in the sentence is only one. So one subject is mentioned, but there are two verbs, multiple verbs present in the sentence. Both these verbs are agreeing with the subject. That is, if the subject is singular, which is the case here, both the verbs that are used in the sentence are singular. Both the verbs that are used in the sentence are singular. Now try to attempt this question. This question based on error spotting. Keep the rule that we have discussed in mind and try to find out the error in this sentence. You can also take option D as no error. If you feel the sentence is correct, you can mark option D as your answer. So the sentence here is telling you, or the rule here is telling you, that if there is one single subject in the sentence, but there are multiple verbs, that is, there is more than one verb in the sentence, all those verbs will agree with the subject. Now let's discuss the sentence. Such surveys are efficient way to collect data and gives researchers an extensive insight about the participants. Gives researchers extensive insight about the participants. Your subject here is plural. Your subject is plural. The subject here is surveys. Surveys is a plural subject. That is why we are using the plural verb are. That is why the first verb that we are using, is are, which is a plural verb. But the second verb that we are using is gives. Gives is the singular verb. Gives is a singular verb, which makes this sentence incorrect. Because your subject is plural, so your verb must also be plural. So here the correct answer is option B. The correct answer is option B, where gives must be replaced by the word give. So most of you were correct. Rahi, Pavni, Snehashish, absolutely correct answers. If you have a doubt in this part, you can ask your doubts. If you have a doubt in this rule, guys, you can ask your doubts. Any doubts in the rule, do not hesitate in asking. If not, just write clear in the chat box so that we can move on to the next rule. So moving ahead, the next rule here says uncountable nouns take singular verb. So when you are given an uncountable noun as the subject of the sentence, when the subject of the sentence is an uncountable noun, it will be followed by a singular verb. It will take a singular verb after it. It will take a singular verb after it. So here, try to notice these examples that are listed for you. Try to attempt these sentences that are given to you. The options for these sentences are given to you in brackets. The options are given to you in brackets. So try and attempt the questions based on the rule that we have just discussed. Discussing the first question, I want all of you to answer the question. So when we talk about uncountable nouns, we had studied uncountable nouns when we were discussing the topic nouns. When we were discussing the topic nouns, we had studied uncountable nouns in detail. And to simply understand what are uncountable nouns are nouns that cannot be counted. Things or concepts or phenomena that cannot be counted in number. So I'll give you an example. Books can be counted, but knowledge cannot be counted. So books is a countable noun, but knowledge is an uncountable noun. Knowledge is an uncountable noun. So this is the difference. This is the basic difference between countable nouns and uncountable nouns. Something that you can count in numbers is countable. Something that you cannot count in numbers is uncountable. So here education is uncountable. Education dash a vital source of information for many. For the first question, you are given two options, is or are. Is singular subject, is a singular verb, and are is a plural verb. The rule that we have discussed gives us or states that uncountable nouns will be followed by a singular verb. So here is the correct answer. Most of you were correct. Most of you were correct, guys. Absolutely correct. Rahi, Soumya, Harsha, Shruti, Snehashish, correct answers by most of you. Absolutely correct. Commendable job. Now come to the second question. Now come to the second question. The information obtained about the employee survey dash irrelevant for the company. The information obtained about the employee survey dash irrelevant for the company. Was, were, or are. Notice, guys, information is uncountable. Information is uncountable, but facts are countable. Facts are countable. So if the information that you have received, if the information that you have received gives you 10 facts, 100 facts, 16 facts, whatever, facts are countable, but information is not countable. Information that is the subject of your sentence is not countable. So here you are going to use a singular verb. Was is the correct answer. Absolutely correct. Most of you are correct here. So the information obtained about the employee survey was irrelevant for the company. Was is absolutely correct. The other two verbs are plural verbs. The other two verbs are plural verbs. Correct answers: Sikandar, Harsha, Shruti, Rahi, Soumya. Absolutely correct. If you have a doubt in this rule, you can ask your doubts, guys. If you have any doubts in this particular rule, you can ask your doubts. Any doubts in the question, any doubts in the rule, you can ask your doubts. If not, we will move on to the next part of the session. So moving on, I want you to attempt this question. Now we have discussed some rules, not all the rules associated with subject-verb agreement. Subject-verb agreement is a extensive topic. It cannot be covered in one class. So these were some rules. Now on the basis of the rules that we have studied today, we are going to practice some questions. So this part or this section of the session is called practice questions, and this is your first question. Try to attempt the question that is given to you. Try to attempt the question that is given to you. It's an error spotting question. We have discussed a rule associated with this concept today or with this sentence today. When there are more than two nouns or pronouns, when there are more than two nouns or pronouns in the sentence, connected by the connector and, connected by the connector and or the conjunction and, then it is followed by a plural verb. Then it is followed by a plural verb. Here we are talking about two people, guys. We are talking about Annie and her sister because we are referring to two people. This makes our subject plural. This makes our subject plural. So because our subject is plural, our verb must also be plural. Now try to attempt the question. If you have not attempted the question, now try and attempt the question. We have discussed this rule. We have just discussed the rule in today's class. If there is more than one noun or pronoun in the sentence that is connected with the connector and, yes, most of you are now correct. There is an error in part B. So option B is the correct answer. Here is incorrect. Is a singular verb. Is a singular verb. On the other hand, your subject is plural. So is must be replaced by are. Is must be replaced by are. Are is absolutely correct. Option B is the correct answer. Sikandar, Soumya, correct answers. If you have a doubt in this part, you can ask your doubts. If you have any doubts in this particular question, you can ask your doubts, guys. We have discussed the rule. I'll revise the rule for you again. The rule said that if there are more than one nouns or pronouns in the subject of the sentence connected by the connector and, then it will be followed by a plural verb. Why? Because that makes the subject plural. Try to understand. Here in the subject, we are talking about two people. We are not talking about one single person. We are talking about Annie and her sister. So maybe the name of her sister is Mary. Maybe the name of her sister is Mary. So we are talking about two people. Two people are at school right now. One single person is not at school. Two people are at school. Annie is at school and Mary is at school. So both Annie and Mary are at school. We are talking about two people. So that is why we are going to use a plural verb. If you still have a doubt, you can ask your doubts. If you still have a doubt, you can ask your doubt. When you say this sentence, Annie is at school, you are talking about one person. When you say Mary is at school, here also you are talking about one person. But when you combine these two sentences, when you say Annie and Mary, then you are talking about two people. So two people followed by a plural verb. Annie and Mary are at school. Moving on to the next question. Try to attempt this question now. One of my sisters dash Europe next month. One of my sisters dash Europe next month. Try to identify the subject here. Try to identify the subject in this sentence. That's the key to this sentence. So suppose I have 5 sisters, or suppose I have 3 sisters. Now here the sentence says one of my sisters. The sentence says one of my sisters. So out of these numerous sisters that I might have, out of these 5 sisters that I might have, only one is visiting Europe next month. Only one out of these 5 sisters is visiting Europe next month. So here you have to identify the subject of the sentence. You have to try and understand what is the subject. What are we essentially talking about? The sentence says one of my sisters. So suppose I have 5 sisters. Out of these 5 sisters, only one sister is visiting Europe next month. So because only one person is performing the action, this makes the subject singular. This makes the subject singular. So option C and D can be eliminated. C and D have been eliminated straight away. Now, because we are talking about next month, we are not talking about right now. So we can eliminate option A, and option A is anyway grammatically incorrect. Is must either be followed by the past participle form or the present participle form of the verb. So is must be followed by the participle form of the verb. We have discussed all these rules, guys. So option A is grammatically incorrect. Option A is grammatically incorrect. So that makes option B the correct answer. Option B is the correct answer. If you have any doubts, you can ask your doubts. So the question was correctly answered by Rahi, Shruti, Snehashish, Harsha, Sikandar. Yes, absolutely correct. If you have any doubts in the question, you can ask your doubts, guys. Option B is the correct answer. One of my sisters is visiting Europe next month. Using a singular verb here because we are talking about one single person who will be visiting Europe next month. Moving on to the next question. Try to attempt this question now. All these questions that we are discussing today, guys, they can be asked in various forms. They can be asked to you in the form of phrase replacement. They can also be asked as error spotting questions. So these sentences that we are discussing, that we are practicing in today's class, can be asked in various forms. So the question type might vary, but the rule associated with each sentence is important, and that is what you need to learn and keep in mind. So try to attempt this question. The man with all those fancy cars dash next door. The man with all those fancy cars. So your first task is that you identify the subject of the sentence. Quickly tell me, what is the subject in this sentence? What is the subject in this sentence, guys? Try to identify the subject in the sentence, and as you identify the subject, you will be able to answer the question. So is man the subject or fancy cars the subject? Which one do you think is the subject? The man with all those fancy cars dash next door. So which one is the subject? Man or fancy cars? Yes, absolutely correct. The man here is the subject. The subject of the sentence is the man, which makes it a singular subject. So the subject of our sentence is singular. Accordingly, we can eliminate option B. The first option that we eliminate is option B because stay here is a plural verb. Stay is a plural verb. So the first option that we eliminate is option B. Now, if you notice options A and D, that is arrives and occupies, these two options render the sentence meaningless. That is, they are not contextually correct. They do not fit in the sentence. Option C here is the correct answer. The man with all those fancy cars lives next door. When you say that this person lives next door, you mean that he is one of your neighbors. He is one of your next door neighbors. If this is the house that you occupy, this is the house that the person with all those fancy cars occupies. So option C here is the correct answer. If you have a doubt in this question, you can ask your doubts. If you have any doubts in the question, you can ask your doubts, guys. Any doubts in this question? Do not hesitate in asking. The man with all those fancy cars. Here, you had to be careful that the subject of the sentence is the man and not fancy cars. Even though you might be confused or you might be tempted to mark option B as the correct answer, Option B was not correct. Had it been stays, in case of option B, had it been stays, then option B could have been correct because then it would have been a singular verb. Then it would have been a singular verb. In that case, it would have been correct. But here you are given stay, which is a plural verb. So option B can be eliminated. If you have any doubts in the question, you can ask your doubts. Any doubts in the question so far, do not hesitate in asking. Any doubts in the rules that we have discussed, even then, do not hesitate in asking. Ask your doubts, guys. Ask as many doubts as you have and do not carry forward your doubts to the next class or whatever. So this brings us to the end of this session. This brings us to the end of this session. If you are new to the channel, guys, do subscribe to the channel, like this session and share this session with your friends. We'll continue this topic next week, that is Wednesday, Thursday and Friday at 5 p.m. So make sure you tune in next week as well. Make sure you tune in next week as well. The topic, that is subject verb agreement, is not over. So this is an extensive topic. This is an extensive topic and we are going to continue this topic over the next few classes. Do enroll or do attend those classes, do attend those sessions. And in case you have doubts in today's class, if you have any doubts in today's class when you revise the contents of today's class, and if you come across any doubts, leave your doubts in the comment section. Guys, I will check the comments for your doubts and I'll reply there itself. So wherever, in whichever part of the session you have a doubt, leave your doubt in the comment section. I'll answer your doubt. So thank you for attending, guys. Keep practicing for your exams. All the best. Stay safe.